August 13, 2026. Google released Gemini 3.7 Flash. There was no Stadium keynote, no countdown. For most developers, the first signal wasn't a blog post at all. It was a model selector that had quietly changed underneath them. By the time the announcement circulated, 3.7 Flash was already the default model inside JetBrains Gemini, a coding agent Google does not own, reportedly at a 40% price reduction. It was landing across the Gemini API, Google AI Studio, Android Studio, Gemini Enterprise Agent, and Gemini Spark. Not a staged rollout, a simultaneous one. That choice is the story. Context matters here, because Flash is not a new idea. Since Gemini 1.5 Flash in May 2024, Google has maintained a two-track lineup: Pro models for maximum capability, Flash models for latency and cost. Flash was the cheap seat. You reached for Pro when the task was hard. What has eroded across each generation? 2.0 Flash in December 2024, 2.5 Flash the following year, is the size of that gap. Each release pushed more genuine reasoning capability into the cheap tier. Gemini 3.7 Flash, according to Google's positioning, is the point where the cheap tier becomes the default recommendation for agentic work. The distinguishing claim is narrow and worth stating precisely. Google describes 3.7 Flash as multimodal and optimized for fast, multi-step agentic reasoning and coding. Read that carefully. The emphasis is not on a single brilliant answer. It's on many adequate steps executed quickly. That distinction is the whole architecture of modern agents. An agent doesn't answer once. It plans, calls a tool, reads the output, revises, calls again, sometimes dozens of times for one user request. Latency and cost compound at every hop. A model that is slightly weaker per step, but 3 times faster and substantially cheaper, can outperform a smarter model over a full trajectory. Now the JetBrains detail, which is, arguably, the most informative fact in the entire announcement. JetBrains is not a Google subsidiary. Gemini is JetBrains' own coding agent, embedded in IDEs used by millions of professional developers. Making an external model the default inside your own product is a decision with real consequences. If it underperforms, your users blame you. Pair that with a reported 40% discount, and you can read the commercial logic plainly. Google is subsidizing placement, not selling a model, buying a default. Defaults are how infrastructure markets are actually decided. Most users never change them. Look at the deployment surface as a set. The Gemini API and AI Studio capture independent developers and prototypes. Android Studio reaches mobile engineers inside the tool they already live in. Gemini Enterprise Agent targets corporate deployments with procurement cycles and compliance review. Gemini Spark and Gemini sit at the consumer and prosumer edge. That is hobbyist, professional, and enterprise, reached the same week, with the same model identifier. The strategic effect is that a developer prototyping in AI Studio on a Thursday can ship to enterprise infrastructure without changing models. Google has removed the migration step, which historically is where customers reconsider vendors. A necessary caution. At launch, essentially all performance characterization of a new model is vendor reported. Independent evaluation, third-party benchmarks, red team results, long-horizon agent testing on real code bases, lags by weeks or months. Historically, vendor benchmark selection has favored the vendor. So the honest statement is this: Google claims strong agentic and coding performance at Flash tier pricing. Whether that holds under adversarial, long-context, real-world conditions is not yet established by anyone outside Google and its launch partners. Treat the distribution footprint as confirmed fact. Treat the capability claims as claims, credible given the trajectory of the Flash line, but unreplicated as of release. There is a second risk builders consistently underestimate. Google's release cadence is now measured in months. Every model that becomes a default eventually becomes a deprecated endpoint. Teams that hard-code a model string into production and tune prompts against its specific behavior inherit a maintenance obligation they did not price in. The 40% discount is genuine, but introductory pricing is a commercial instrument, not a contract. Cheap defaults are how platform dependency is established. This is a well-documented pattern across cloud infrastructure, not an accusation specific to Google. Adopt the model. Don't marry the string. The practical guidance follows directly from the above. First, route through an abstraction layer. The cost of swapping providers should be a configuration change, not a refactor. Second, build your own evaluation set against your own tasks before you commit. Public benchmarks measure general capability. You are shipping something specific. Third, measure trajectory economics, not per token price. For agentic workloads, the meaningful number is total cost and latency to complete a task, including retries and failed tool calls. Fourth, assume the frontier moves again within 2 quarters. Architect for replacement. Step back, and the significance of August 13th isn't the model, it's the deployment pattern. For roughly 3 years, the AI industry competed on capability announcements. Gemini 3.7 Flash suggests the competition has shifted to distribution, where the model lives by default, who else ships it, and how much of the developer surface it occupies before anyone benchmarks it. That is how infrastructure markets consolidate. Quietly, through defaults, in tools people were already using. For anyone deciding what to wire into an agent stack right now, the model matters. The lock-in matters more.